Hustle culture. What is hustle culture? Hustle culture tells us that we can achieve anything we want if we just grind, give up everything and everyone in the pursuit of material possession and this mythical freedom. Actually, a lot of us, when pursuing hustle culture, when involved in hustle culture, will never actually see. Hustle culture basically just means constant working. It's kind of a new wave, not even that new, of people that fall into this space of glorifying overworking, of glorifying grinding until you're basically no longer healthy. My problem with hustle culture isn't that it teaches us that we must hustle. I think it's that they're trying to teach us that we must love the hustle, we must love the grind, and we must love killing ourselves essentially, because that kind of then gives hustling a sense of pride and a sense of ownership. I was having a conversation with my therapist, where I was detailing the fact that I'm struggling to switch off because I wasn't switching off. I was waking up to start work at 7 a.m, working all the way till like 10 p.m, going to bed not long after, dreaming about work, only to then wake up and start work again at 7 a.m. So that was whatever. That's like it's not an always thing. It's like a temporary thing, whatever, I can handle it. The bit that stuck with me was that I started to talk about how sometimes I feel like maybe I question if I'm lazy. And then he said, well, what you said to me doesn't sound lazy. And I was like, oh yeah, of course, it doesn't sound lazy. Like I'm working a lot. How is that lazy? So I was questioning myself, like, why is it that I feel that way, feel like I'm lazy? And I realized it's because the things I was detailing that I was doing, I'm not doing them with glee. I'm not doing them excited. I'm not like, yeah, wake up, start work at 7. A lot of the things I was doing a bit like begrudgingly, is that a word? Yeah. I was kind of having to force myself or pep talk myself into doing them. I was moaning and complaining a lot, and therefore I was lazy. But where does that come from?
Okay, boomer.
We call boomers crazy. Boomers call us lazy. We call boomers crazy because they stayed in the same company for over a decade and they were super loyal to their company. And we call them crazy because they worked in the same job and they worked 9 to 5 until retirement age. Boomers, they call us, millennials and Gen Zs, they call us lazy, entitled, soft, because we demand more fulfillment in our careers. We demand more flexibility and we do not stay loyal to none of these companies. But as much as we look back at boomers and say it could never be me, what if we haven't got it right? What if in our bid to evolve and correct the way that they did things, we haven't actually got it right? And like I said, what if in our fight to escape this rat race, we're not escaping it, we're just rebranding it? And what if we are just turning what boomers had and what we look down on as in stuck in your 9 to 5, stuck in cold, gloomy offices, stuck with fewer rights and fewer work fulfillment. We've just stripped that out and we've replaced it with what looks glossier, what looks more fun, with the neon signs that say, rise and grind. And I think we can all agree that we've seen a shift, or we've entered into the workspace at a time when the speed at which we produce work and the amount of work that we're expected to produce has just gone through the roof. Don't even get me started on platforms like LinkedIn, where hustle culture, grind culture, bragging about working harder than everybody else is just rife on that platform, and is a little bit, not even a little bit, is a lot cringe. We basically have been building a digital world around us. We've seen the progress, and instead of the digital world helping us to slow down because it is a way faster, way of speedier, way more efficient than us, what we've done weirdly is we've tried to keep up with the speed of the digital world that we've built around us, which is impossible, but we try anyway to keep up with it. And therefore we have a million things on our to-do list. We have not enough hours in the day. When people ask us how we are, we say, I'm busy, I'm so busy. And what hustle culture has done is it's turned it into a badge of honor. Think about if you're a busy person, right, in work, think about how many times people ask you, how are you? And you dare not say, oh, I'm good, I'm great, I'm amazing. Instead, weirdly, we kind of take a bit of pride in saying, I'm so busy, but I'm good. Oh, I'm so tired, but I'm good. So much work, the usual, but I'm good. Why is that? Hustle culture is why. Some stats. In 2020, of British employed people, 78% said that they experienced workplace stress. A Gov UK report showed that workload was the number one reason for that stress. 55% experienced anxiety as a result of that workplace stress. 43% lose sleep, and a third of them comfort eat. So hustle culture is literally killing us, is literally harming our health, but it's so hard to get out. Because what's sad, is that if you ask people what's important to them, I imagine a lot of us would say family, friends, community. But if you took the pie chart that showed what's important to us in terms of percentages of our life, and then you took a pie chart which showed the effort or the areas in our life that we put effort in, there would be a big disparity. We'd probably say our family and our friends and the community are like the majority of what takes up our things we love and the things we actually want to invest in and the things we actually care about. But then if you look at the other pie chart, you'll probably see that actually work, hustling, grinding for basically material things is what takes up the majority of our time, the majority of our thought life, the majority of our effort, of our being. And that doesn't make any sense. So where, the well-being of your family, your friends, how much time you're spending with them should be the thing that's causing us the most quote-unquote stress because it holds their biggest weight, is actually work and stuff that's causing the most stress. And studies actually show that this stress will have a negative impact on your productivity, it'll have a negative impact on your health, mental and physical, and it could actually shorten your lifespan. So what do we do? First things first, and I hate that I'm going to say this because it's been said to me so many times and I'm like, I know, but it is so much easier said than done, but I still have to say it, and it is prioritize yourself. Because really and truly, we're not working this hard for ourselves. As much as we like to take ownership of this hustle culture and say, oh, it's because I'm, living so I can be my own boss and this is that. We're not doing these things for ourselves. We're doing it out of fear of how we might be perceived by other people. We're doing it out of fear of maybe being reprimanded by bosses, by managers. We're doing it out of fear of being perceived as not as hardworking, not as competent as somebody else. So we're not doing these things for our own personal satisfaction, really and truly. So we're not prioritizing ourselves when we are working ourselves to the bone, as much as we try to lie to ourselves and say that we are. When we prioritize ourselves, we switch from rise and grind to rise and shine. Like, wake up, we're more aware of our body. I'm talking to myself, by the way, because I have not mastered this. We're more aware of our body, we're more aware of our cues. I, for example, sometimes don't even notice when my shoulders are tense and Keith comes over and he literally has to push my shoulders down. Sometimes I don't notice when I'm hungry. Sometimes I don't notice when I've got a headache. I don't notice when I'm feeling a type of way. I've basically lost touch with myself sometimes, and prioritizing yourself means understanding that you are more important than these things that you're trying to achieve and the work that you're trying to get done and the company that you work for. And taking time to focus on yourself and what your body is telling you, because our body likes to communicate with us a lot. We just don't hear it. Next thing is to prioritize rest. Again, is one of those things that's so much easier said than it is done. And it kind of ties in with prioritizing yourself, because rest is for you. And if you're not prioritizing your own time, and if you don't really feel like you need to be accountable to yourself, but you need to be accountable to this person, that person, it's so easy to, the first thing you give up when you have got things to do is your rest. As a Christian, I'm literally not doing what I'm being told to do by not resting. Jesus told me to rest. He rested as an example to us. Like, the Sabbath exists for a reason. He knew what he was doing. Like, there was a time in the past, I heard about this, there was a time in the past when they tried to increase the work week, as in they tried to increase it from 5 days a week to, I don't know how if they added an extra day, I don't know what they did. But they tried to increase the work week because their logic was like, we need to produce more, and if we just extend the work week, then we will produce more. Simple maths. No, it didn't work like that. Productivity actually went down because we are not designed, we're not even designed to do the amount of work we're doing now, if I'm being honest. I said it, I'm not being lazy, we're just not. But when they tried to extend it to more than 5 days, productivity went down because we're not supposed to be like that. We are supposed to rest. We are made partly to rest, and that is how we become more productive, is because we're able to rest and rejuvenate. And the thing is with me and rest, and my understanding of it is that for me to rest, it's almost like I'm saying I trust God to take care of the things that I can't physically do while I'm resting. It's this sort of belief that, yes, this is not all about me. It's possible for these things to get done. The world will not stop spinning if I take a day off. And ultimately for me, my ultimate rest is found in Christ. And if I'm refusing to rest out of fear that things won't get done, I'm not trusting God. Next thing I'll say, which is really important, is prioritize community. We, in hustle culture, I live in London. Like, London is, I feel like it's one of the least social places in the West. It's full of hustlers, it's full of rise and grinders. And unfortunately, we don't prioritize community. Regardless of how close we live to people, I don't know my neighbors. For me, the things that really matter is community, my friends, my family, my neighbors. And studies have shown that people that live a more connected life actually live longer, happier, healthy lives. Researchers at Harvard have studied, I think it was like 700 men. They studied them for over 80 years. And so they studied these 700 men and then the families that they went on to have. And they actually found that in the beginning stages of these men's lives, they obviously thought, fame, fortune, etc. was the way to go. But as they studied them over the years, they found that the men with the most fulfilling lives are the men that prioritize community, the ones that leaned into relationships with friends, with family. So yeah, prioritize community, and trust me, you will see a difference. There's been so many times when I wanted to skip out on social things because I've been so busy, and I'm like, no. And then when I actually do those things, I feel so much more rested and so much more ready and so much more motivated than if I had just powered through, skipped the social event, skipped the talking to my friends, and just grinded. Another thing I think is important to know is that there's a season for everything. Yes, we should live balanced lives, but I think sometimes we think that balance needs to be the same balance all the time. You need to do the whole like work for this many hours, rest for this many hours, play for this many hours, and it has to be a constant thing. But what I've learned is that there's a season for everything. And so sometimes, like when I explained the other week when I was literally on autopilot and I was working like a robot, that's not sustainable. But I had accepted that week that was what it was, because it's what was going on at work, and I almost made peace with that. And I do the same thing sometimes in other areas of my life where I'm like, I just know I'm coming up to a season where I do need to rise and grind, where I do need to hustle, where I do need to maybe sacrifice a little bit of sleep. As long as I know it's a season, and as long as I know that it's not sustainable forever, I can make peace with that. And I think what that did for me was it got me out of this like horrible place of, I hate this, and helped me accept this. It is what it is. Adella, right now, put your head down, do your work, it will pass. And as long as that's not an everyday thing, I think it's okay that we go through moments in our life, seasons in our life where maybe right now we're prioritizing family, and always prioritize family, but right now we're spending more time with family and friends, and right now they're not gonna have to see me for a little bit because I'm really putting my head down. I think that's okay, and I think that helps us manage things more realistically. But also, what I think is very interesting, and what I think we need to kind of come to terms with, is that nobody's forcing us to work this hard. Like, we don't have to work this hard. The thing is, if you want a certain lifestyle that requires an above average investment, 9 times out of 10, not always, some people are lucky, but 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to work harder than the average person or than your ideal amount of work. The gag is, nobody says we have to have that lifestyle. Society says we do, and so the pressure does come from that, and it might be subconscious, but at the end of the day, we have authority over our own lives, and that we can choose not to. Like, for some reason, the algorithm is feeding me a lot of content. I think I clicked on one video. It's feeding me a lot of content of people saying, I quit my corporate 6-figure job to do like labor work or something. And they're basically people talking about how happy they are since they quit being an engineer, since they quit being an attorney, since they quit working in finance or tech or whatever. And now they, like, I don't know, stack shelves or work as a cleaner or something like that. And they are so happy. And you know what? I understand. Every time I walk past a coffee shop, every time I walk past, like, what in my head, I know grass is always greener, what seems like a really calm, low, mentally draining job, I think, like the other day, yeah, I looked outside and I looked at the garbage disposal people, and it was a sunny day and they had the headphones in and they were just chucking the rubbish in the van, and I was like, must be nice. I literally said must be nice. And so what I'm saying basically is it is always a choice. Like, no one is stopping you from quitting your corporate job or the job that's stressing you out and going to work in, I don't know, whatever you deem to be a less stressful job. No one's stopping you. But the truth of the matter is, if you want a certain lifestyle, a certain level, whether the world has told you you wanted it or you just want it, you might have to put in a bit of extra work. And so you just have to decide. Of course, unfortunately, you can't have your cake and eat it. Some people do, but you have to make a decision. And so just remember that it is, at the end of the day, it is your choice. Please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not saying people that are like struggling to sort of come out of poverty and therefore working in very draining, stressful jobs. I'm not talking about you, of course. I'm talking about those of us who choose the career path that we want because maybe part of the incentive is, you know, we want to make a certain amount of money. It is a choice. I tell you what I think doesn't help is pretending that you love your job when you don't, feeling as though you have to love your job when I don't think you do, or seeing your job or your career for anything more than what it is. Some people love their job. Some people just like that they're good at their job. Some people don't like their job, but they're content with the fact that it is just their job and they are doing it to get an income to pay the bills and to fund what it is that they actually do enjoy, their hobbies, their spending time with their family, etc. All of those things are okay. I actually like my job. I think have I said this before? I like my job, like my company, but at the end of the day, I have a realistic view of what it is. It's not like, it doesn't have to fulfill your whole life. It doesn't have to be your everything. I think the notion that we have to be passionate about what we do is adding unnecessary pressure. Some people are passionate about what they do. Some people are passionate about the sector that they're in. Some people just like their jobs. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different ways to look at your career, and I don't think there's ever a right or a wrong way to look at it. And this idea that you have to, if you're not passionate about it, if you don't wake up loving the fact that you have to go to work on a Monday, then you're in the wrong career. I don't think that's necessarily true. Another thing people might be passionate about, they might be passionate with where this career is taking them, the career path that they're on, but it doesn't mean you have to be passionate about that particular job career that you're doing right now. I haven't even touched on women in this hustle culture, the whole girl boss babe sort of narrative. I think I'll do a separate video on that because I have a lot to say on that. I find it a little bit, I think, patronizing, the whole, you want to be a boss babe, the whole aesthetic. But that's for another video. Let me know down below if you want to hear about that. But as always, guys, I would love to hear what you think about what I've said in this topic. I know you guys will have a lot to say. I just love you guys' opinions, and so please comment down below. And as always, check out some of my recent videos, and I will see you in my next one.